Hello, I'm Peter.
And I'm Harry.
And this is Man Up,
Man Down.
the podcast where we talk about growing up in the 21st century as a young person
Our experiences with mental health.
and the things that we have to go through as young people in this modern day and age.
We'll be discussing several topics over the course of, I think, we're going to
About 8 weeks.
about 8 weeks we're looking at. And the idea is that we draw our own conclusions, I guess, at the end of each topic that we discuss, kind of figure out for ourselves. We're learning, aren't we, whilst we're doing this?
So, Harry, episode 8.
This is the final podcast of the series.
The final countdown.
Anyway, so if you've made it this far, first of all, thank you.
Well done.
Well done.
Yeah.
The last week we spoke about our goals for the new year.
Yes.
So how have you been finding them so far?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, mate.
Very good, very good. Started my knitting.
You did?
It's a lot harder than it looks, so it's going to take me a lot longer. But I think for me, a goal, like a successful target with that would be to learn how to knit, not necessarily knit my big scarf. I think if by the end of the year I know how to knit, that's something new learned.
Yeah, exactly. No.
So I did that. I have been trying to wake up early. First 3 days was perfect. 6:30, went to the gym, amazing. Last 3 days hasn't been as good. I mean, I woke up a bit later, but when I say later, it's only like 9 o'clock in the morning, so...
Not too bad.
For you, that's like middle of the night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Done that. What were my other goals? Can't remember what they were, to be honest. I mean, obviously we had like stuff like camping and...
Yeah, I've got stuff coming up,
other
definitely.
stuff coming on there.
Yeah.
I've been to the gym every day. I've been
have?
Yeah, I've been doing my exercise.
I've actually not, so admittedly, I've not really been going the last week, so I definitely need to get back. But because I know obviously one of my goals was to put on like a kilogram each month, so it's not the most positive start, admittedly, but I know I've got time. And the one thing I don't want to do though is procrastinate, because I am a master procrastinator, and I think when you say I'll do something the next week or I'll do it tomorrow, it's like, why not do it today? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I need to really practice what I preach with that, because I'm very good at telling other people that. I'm like, well, why don't you do it today? But it's a bit hypocritical from myself, to be honest, Pete, because I have a habit of...
But I do feel like we gave ourselves massive goals last week. We gave ourselves a lot of goals, and they were all quite big goals. So I suppose as long as we're attempting it, as long as we're trying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think sometimes, like, me especially, but I'm sure it's the same with you or anybody really, I think sometimes we can be a bit hard on ourselves and a bit like... I don't know, like with the waking up thing, like I'm still waking up before 9 o'clock, so it's still early. It's not like I'm waking up at like midday or after midday, so it's still early.
Well, skill-wise, in terms of, I know I was talking about learning new skills. I've already started on the piano and obviously doing a bit of drawing. So
well, I've read a chapter of my book every day, so I've read 100 pages.
Yeah, so there you go. See, we're on track with goals already. We're already like in the right direction. It's just obviously, like you say, as you established a second ago, we set quite a lot. So which is good.
I'm halfway through one book, my first book, which you'd expect me to be at halfway through the month, obviously. Yeah. And it's only the 6th of January now, so doing good. So do you want to talk about a little experience we had before we started recording, the little horror show we had?
Yeah, so you have your Bluetooth connected to the car, don't you?
Yeah. And I took my keys out of the car so I could go into the boot to get something. And then you were sat in the car and it was putting some crazy circus horror music on, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was weird. It was strange.
Weird
interference. It was really strange. I was beginning to think that your car or radio station was haunted. We were getting some sort of demonic
interference.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's all good now. Should I tell you about a funny story that happened to me this week?
Yes, yeah. I'm intrigued for this because you actually...
I teased it before, didn't I?
Yeah. All right, so here we go.
So
exclusive.
You may already know about this, actually. Somebody might have already told you, but if not, then it's a funny story. So we went to, on 2nd of January, it was our mate Sean's birthday, who I'm sure will appear on the podcast at some point in the future. Yeah. It was his birthday, so we went to Hull, we went to the Deep, which is I think the biggest aquarium in the UK, or one of the biggest ones anyway. And we saw lots of animals. I got to touch a stingray. Well, I didn't get to touch a stingray. I wanted to touch a stingray.
You wanted to touch a stingray?
I want to stroke it. You know how some aquariums let you stroke stingrays?
Alright, fair enough.
But they didn't offer that there, which was a shame. But we went to the aquarium, and then afterwards we went to Pizza Hut in Scunthorpe, which is where Charlie's from, who was our guest on a previous episode. And we were at this Pizza Hut, and we had our main meal, our pizzas. And I went off to the toilet, and I was just there thinking, wouldn't it be nice to do something for Sean for his birthday, like get him a fancy dessert, or just make a big fuss out of him. So I go back to the table and I talk to the waitress and I'm like, is there any chance you can, like, if I order a dessert, can you bring it over and make a big fuss out of our mate because it's his birthday? So she's like, yeah, that's sure. Do you want me to do it as embarrassing as possible? I was like, yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, brilliant.
Right. So I sit back down at the table. I'm like, great, I've ordered a dessert from Cookie Dough. It's his fave. With ice cream and stuff. And I was like, great, it's all planned. I'm sitting at this table and I'm like, right, I need an excuse to stay at this table because we finished eating. Sean's going to get straight into the car if we go now. So I was like, oh, I've just ordered another J2O. Like, we'll just be here for another minute or two. Like, I'm just waiting my J2O. I'll take it with me. The J2O, quote unquote, or the Cookie Dough, doesn't arrive, right? So for about 20-30 minutes, I'm desperately trying to get Sean to stay in his seat so he doesn't go off to the car. so we spoke about everything from volcanoes to, I don't know, all sorts. We covered everything. But I let Charlie, our mate Charlie, know what was happening with the dessert, because I was sat next to him, so I showed him on my notes on my phone. I typed in, I ordered dessert for Sean, he saw it. But I didn't tell Zachy, and I didn't obviously tell Sean, because I wanted it to be a surprise for Sean. So about 20 minutes after I ordered the J2O, or Cookie Dough, Zachy gets up out of his seat, goes to the waitress and asks where the J2O is, that I haven't ordered.
Oh, no.
Which is fine, because I rushed up to stop him. I was like, no, Zachy, it's alright.
He wasn't in on the plan?
No, so he wasn't in on it. And so when Sean went off to the toilet, we let Zachy know. We were like, we've ordered this dessert for Sean, it's coming soon, it'll all be good. When Sean comes back from the toilet, he's like, Pete, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of waiting in. The whole time I was like, let's just enjoy each other's company now. We don't see each other that often. Let's just talk about volcanoes and talk about
stalling him.
I was stalling him so much. And Sean gets sick of it, so Sean goes and asks the waitress. He's like, "Excuse me, we ordered a J2O. Where is it?" And he was getting quite annoyed by this point.
This is brilliant.
So I felt so bad for the waitress because I was just like, "This is like kind of so embarrassing." The manager is the one that came up.
I hope you left a tip after all this.
Well, Sean was talking to the manager, and the manager obviously wasn't in on it either. So the manager was like, "All right, I'll go find out what's happening with this J2O," and Sean was really angry about it. The waitress that I'd ordered the dessert with.
Did he? Sorry to interject. Did he actually like go up to the bar like angrily? Or was he just like a bit like...
He was quite angry. He was a little bit, like, not too bad, but a little bit. So at this point, obviously the manager's at the table with Sean, having, I'd say, a heated conversation. It wasn't too bad, but like the manager was obviously very confused about J2O because he didn't know about it. And Sean was like, where's this J2O? Why is it taking like half an hour to get a J2O out the fridge? So the waitress that I ordered the dessert with comes to the table to talk to the manager and kind of calm him down and be like, it's okay, it's just basically this dessert. But she didn't say anything because she obviously didn't want Sean to know about it.
Yeah.
So they both go off again, and they're like, right, we'll look into the J2O, we'll try and get it for you now. And I think there was about another 10 minutes that passed. It seemed to go on forever. Then the manager comes back up to the table and says, "We're very sorry with the J2O. Our fridge is broken. We're just making sure it's nice and cool for you." Like, why is it taking so long for a J2O? Like even at this point, we were like, why is it taking so long for a dessert? Like, it shouldn't be taking this long. And anyway, they bring over the dessert to him eventually, and Sean's like, "Oh, great, amazing! Like, thank you guys."
He's just like, "Oh, you don't care at that point."
No, he did.
It's been that long that he's just like, "Yeah, I want my J2O. Actually, I don't want the cake."
And then what happened was, I said to the guy, I was like, "What?" The manager, I was like, "What actually happened with that? Like, that took ages." Like, I wasn't rude to them, but I was like, "Why? What was the issue?" And he said basically the ice cream machine or whatever it was had broken, or some dessert thing had broken.
You put them under some immense pressures. Like, suddenly fix the ice cream machine. So
come up with an excuse for a J2O.
His birthday's dependent on this. You're gonna ruin his birthday.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Sean had his dessert and he was happy with it. But it was just crazy because it's like Zachy was rushing off, Sean was rushing off. The manager didn't know what was happening. The waitress was just there in the middle of it all. So it was an experience.
It's a very funny story, actually. To be fair,
it's pretty wacky. So what things have you been up to since New Year? Obviously, it's 6th of January today, so that's the official end of Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, and it's our last podcast. I don't know when we'll come back. I don't know if we'll do some in summer or maybe end of the year. But yeah, so what I've been up to.
Just been doing a fair bit of. I've been doing a fair bit of cooking actually.
You went to the dentist, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to the dentist. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I finally booked my dentist appointment as well. Last week I mentioned I needed to book it. That's one of my goals.
One of your goals.
Just to book that.
One of your goals should just be in life, people. Look after your teeth, or it costs a lot of money.
It does. It's very expensive.
I don't have bad teeth. It's just my treatment required. I've never needed a filling or anything. It's just that I think I spent like over £5,000 at this point on teeth.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous sum of money, really, when you think about it. But
you spent more on your teeth or more on alcohol?
yeah, definitely more on alcohol, unfortunately. Which kind of says a lot. If I'm talking $5,000 on a...
I feel like they kind of work together, though. Like, the more you spend on alcohol, the more you're going to have to spend on your teeth.
Yeah, no, true, to be fair, there's a lot of sugar.
So should we start this episode by talking about, now that we've had the funny story out of the way, should we, kind of do a bit of a roundup of the series? Obviously, we've done 7 episodes of the series. Should we go through each one and give our kind of highlights of it, and then I'll put clips in from each episode to...
Yeah, no, I like that.
To bulk it up a bit.
So, Grief?
Grief was the first one, yeah. So how did you feel about starting the podcast, and how did you feel about the topic and doing that?
I was really enthusiastic from the get-go. I thought, to begin with, grief was a really good topic to discuss.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a sensitive topic. It's one that...
I felt like it was one, because I know that grief was my idea at the start, and I think the reason I chose it was because I wanted to do something that was serious enough so that we weren't just like laughing for the whole hour. Because when you put 2 mates in a car together, when you put 2 mates together in front of a microphone, there's going to be a bit of kind of like, I guess you want a bit of banter, but you don't want the whole thing to kind of immediately go into
thing is
hysterics.
Our representation on the podcast probably isn't, I know we did the odd joke and that, but it's probably not truly reflective of how we are, because we are very comedic and we do joke a lot.
I know that's one of the things that you spoke about probably 3 or 4 weeks in, where you were like, I'm worried if it's too serious all the time. But I think, I don't know, I feel like today, for example, we've had a funny story about Sean's thing, but I suppose the topics that we choose to discuss a lot of the time, like grief and fears and stuff, you can't really have a comedic...
Well, no, it's what it is I never wanted the podcast to be misinterpreted as dull, because the topics we discuss are obviously... They're based on real life. They're based on our experiences. They're based on the experiences of those around us that perhaps don't speak about it the way we do, the way we communicate about it. I think it takes a lot, especially as a man, to talk to your friends about your mental health and how you are, because I think many would be surprised at the reception. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people, especially today with everything that's going on, around, the media and everything, and you're hearing about some terrible news every week about someone you would never suspect to have been suffering, you know what I mean? So that's, so the grief thing, like you say, was a great topic for me. It was probably, honestly, I would say, not just because it was the first, but it was probably my favourite. I feel
like we had, because I know that for that one especially, we had a lot of notes and we had more of a structure to it. Not that, like, I guess some of them we've been a bit, because we've been so busy with work. Well, you haven't, because we've been so busy with other things in our life. We've not always had time to write loads and loads of notes beforehand.
Yeah.
But that one was really planned out, and that one had a lot of ideas for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that maybe because it was the first one, like you say, but I think we got more comfortable, to be fair, as we progressed.
To be fair, I put the start of it on just while I was setting the laptop up today. And I listened to the start of the first one, and there was a lot of kind of like, should we explain how we like know each other, and should we then, do you want to talk or should I talk? And it's very awkward. I feel like we've got into a much more natural way of doing it.
We've got a rhythm now, yeah, definitely. But
I think it'll get more natural as it goes along.
Yeah, it's like anything. That was our first ever podcast, wasn't it? And it was it was definitely a really good introduction, I think, to the series, just to start on grief, because obviously it is a sensitive topic and that.
Have you got any highlights of stuff that we talked about? Any particular bit that's
it was nice to reflect on my granddad, obviously, and his memories. So I think I discussed some of the good memories that I have with him.
Well, I can play a clip from that episode now. So, what was your first proper experience of grief in terms of something that properly, really affected you? I'm not saying that the Miss Cam stuff didn't, but.
Of course.
That affected you? Because for me, it was my grandma. I lost my grandma just before, just after lockdown started. It wasn't COVID related. She was a very old lady, but it really affected me, and it was strange because I think we take, especially grandparents, but I suppose everybody, we take people for granted and think they're going to be around forever, and it's just not the case, is it?
No, absolutely not. For me personally, it was my granddad. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he just never let it get to him. I know that sounds so candid, but that's true to be told. He really did. Just, I think he always knew that it was going to be the cause of his death, because he was an aging man, and he was...
How old is he?
I believe he was 80 years old when he died. Wow, yeah, 80. So... Yeah. He was always in the hospital, always getting operations and treatment and everything. And
see, I was actually just about to ask you about that. So that was the thing that I found most difficult, was seeing someone that you love in hospital. I found that very difficult, and I didn't think I would actually. I walked in and I thought, oh, you just see my grandma in hospital, it'll be fine. But as soon as I walked through that door, I just started crying, and I didn't expect to cry, and it was so weird because I was just like, sometimes when you cry, you're kind of expecting to cry, aren't you? But with that, it was a sudden just like, wow, didn't expect it, and it's seeing someone you love in an unfamiliar situation. I think that is difficult.
It is. I mean, it's one of those where you know, to my recollection, as best I remember it, I was always maintaining strength for my granddad whilst I was in his presence, at least. I didn't want to show fear, or I didn't want to show you know, any anxiety for him or anything, so I'd always make jokes and that in the hospital. We'd play board games, we'd talk about football, talk about anything you know, to kind of make him feel at home still, because I think that's the worst thing when you're trapped in a hospital ward all day.
The second episode we did was about mental health. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, that was obviously a big episode.
Yeah, that's I think the longest one we did, because we had an hour with you, and then, well, roughly, and then an hour with Brendan. And first one with a guest. I know you weren't together, you and the guest, but because there was training orders. No, I'm joking.
Well, of course, I've of course listened to Brendan's half back, and it's superb, honestly.
Because he's such an expert. Like, I would never put the other guests down, because I think we've had a good selection of guests on this series. But I think he was by far the best, just
he's
because
an expert in the field. Yeah, exactly.
He knows what he's talking about. He's very, you know, well educated,
experienced as well. Yeah,
experienced, and he talks about it so well. So I had a great hour talking to him, because again, there was a bit of kind of like, he hadn't done any podcast or recording before, and I hadn't done that many podcasts before, so we were both a little bit new to it when we did the second one. And for the first few minutes, it was a little bit kind of rough and raw, but once we got into it, it was really nice, and it was really interesting what he was saying. Because
absolutely.
I feel like when we talk, I mean, not that I don't value what you say, because you say a lot of important and interesting stuff, but like what Brendan was saying was really captivating and was really useful, you know, really interesting, and he brought a different side to it that I think would be missing if we hadn't had.
Well, yeah, as you say, because obviously, you know, we're not experts in the field, so you know, it's good to always have, you know, in the future, like you say, you never know, it'd be good to get more experts on.
Yeah.
Not again, like I say, not that I'm not devaluing any of the guests that we've had.
I've got plans for the second
one
series, if we do it. I've got a few ideas. So should I play a clip from the second episode? I'll choose a bit where Brendan's talking about how you can tell if someone's suffering from mental health and what to do if they are.
That'd be a really good one to
say. It's a good clip from it. So here we are. If you know, suspected that someone near to you had a mental health thing, how would you how would you talk to them, but also how would you confirm that they do have something going on? You know, what are the signs?
So I like to be observant. I think my one of the nurses at my work described me as a people watcher, because she noticed that if you want to work night out, and I like to spend a lot of my time like observing, like not staring at people obviously, but you know, you kind of thinking, is that person struggling? Is that person actually hiding something? And you can often tell just by the eyes. I think the eyes never lie and stuff. But this person said to me, Brendan, you're a people watcher. I can always tell in work, you're always observing something. You're trying to see if something's about to happen. I had an interesting conversation. A very good friend of mine. We met recently. We had a drink, having a talk, and she had known about all my mental health issues. Obviously, I spoke about it, but I'd never known anything about her. And she had mentioned, obviously, I don't want to publicly voice her mental health issues. She had mentioned something which to then me clicked in my head. Right, I need to ask this question now. And it's kind of how we started talking before. You had mentioned something, but obviously we met to talk about it, obviously.
Yeah.
But she, you know, I didn't know she was suffering. I had no idea. I knew she had issues in life. And
was it because that's something that she was talking about related to your own?
Yeah, so we're just having a normal conversation, and it ended up spiralling into her kind of giving off what I call like a sort of flag, in a sense, where I actually thought, okay, so that sounds like a traumatic event in your past. So I said, how has that affected you? And then from that question, we started doing this. So then I started interviewing her, in a sense. I was like, okay, so can you tell me how you think that's affected you, or is there something you do to try and hide all this? Do you think it's genuinely still affecting you now? And she opened up, and it was lovely to see, because although I heard a lot of stuff which made me upset, and like you think, oh wow, I'm sorry you go through that.
I guess a lot of people turn that introductory way into the conversation, don't they, to talk about it?
Exactly, like
spill it.
Genuinely, like, to me, I love asking these questions to people, because obviously people wonder, why do you want to know? Why do you want to know? To me, if I can put one smile on someone's face or make someone feel heard, no, I've done a good job. And I always do this. I always ask my friends, so how are things going right now? You know, you've got to make sure you constantly ask people, because people get too caught up in the social side of life, social media especially, just trying to be happy all the time, and also not talking about the problems. And if you can sit there and get one of your friends to open up and they feel comfortable, you know, to be trusted is a greater compliment than being loved. I can't remember who said that. It might have been Leo Tolstoy, but to be trusted by someone, to have someone come up to you and trust you enough to actually open up about their pain and the hell they're going through.
Yeah,
that is just a beautiful thing.
The third episode we had, again we had a guest on. It was the first time we had 3 people in the car at once. We had Charlie with us. It was our first Age UK park up, which we've done, I think, every one since, haven't we? Here, apart from the one with Sonny. We didn't that same.
Oh yeah, I remember.
We've done most of them here because it's quite a convenient location. So how do you feel the education one went? Obviously, the education one, I guess, was the first one that didn't have any sort of real hook to it in terms of, like, with mental health and grief, they were quite meaty topics, but with education it was a little bit more kind of just more of a friendly talk, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
I really enjoyed it because I feel like I learnt more about our own experiences, because obviously I'm doing it with 2 of my friends. I learnt more about your experiences and stuff at school on a more personal note, I guess, and it was good for me, because obviously I feel like I opened up as well and expressed some of the stuff that I was going through, the good and the bad, not all bad. I think there was certainly a mix for a lot of people in school, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And I saw, obviously, I heard about Brendan's bit as well in the mental health podcast about his experiences with school and stuff. So
it's really interesting as well, hearing, like, because obviously Charlie didn't go to school in Manchester, and like, I've been to Scunthorpe now. Obviously we went for Sean's birthday this month, a few days ago. So I've now seen Scunthorpe, and it's quite a different place to Manchester. So it's interesting now recontextualising that and thinking how different his school experiences would have been. And he said a lot of interesting things. We talked about school trips, didn't we, and bullying and all sorts. So should we play a clip from that one?
Absolutely.
So did you? I suppose we'll go on with a bit more of a cheery conversation before we go on to the doom and gloom of GCSEs and choosing your options and stuff.
It says doom and gloom?
Yeah, you enjoyed it.
No, I didn't.
Did you go on any kind of, I suppose this is both primary school and high school, did you go on any school trips that you enjoyed, or anything that you thought was a good day out?
Yeah, I got lucky. I went abroad twice with school.
Cool.
So at the end of year 7, we went to Boulogne in France.
Wow.
I don't actually know what the purpose of the trip was. Probably forgotten, or maybe it had no purpose.
Yeah.
I remember going to an aquarium and a beach, and that was a thing. But I don't really remember that trip particularly well. But then in year 9, we went on a Belgian battlefield trip, which was probably the best school trip I ever did, and one of the best trips I've done in my life. Full stop.
Is that like one of those? It's like you act out the battle.
No. It's like you go to Belgium and northern France, and we visited a lot of the sites of World War I and World War II battles.
Oh wow, yeah.
And we could walk around, there's places where the trenches were still there, they've been preserved. Went to the biggest World War II cemetery, which had something like, it was at the site of the Battle of the Somme, and it had 30,000 graves in there, and all those people died within the space of a day in the Battle of the Somme.
Wow.
And this is like gravestones as far as you can see, so it has a big effect on you. And it was it's just a really, really enjoyable trip, because I'm into history anyway.
Spoke about grief episode 1. Charlie's had an experience with graveyards, hasn't he?
So that's the thing. They were great trips, and I think we probably had local trips as well, more UK based ones. Did you guys go abroad at all with school?
I went to you went to North Wales, if that counts as abroad, in year 7. That was the introductory week, wasn't it, in school? I assume you went to that as well, Harry.
I did.
Introduction week.
That was the only one, actually.
Yeah, and then I went to Paris in year 8 for I guess a week. It would have been a week, and then that was only abroad one, I think.
Was it a week? Or was it a week of romance?
Well, maybe we'll say that for another podcast. That story, unless you want me to tell you. It was a good week. It was a good trip, and it's one of those where like I look back now and I think I was maybe too young to appreciate it. Like I'd love to go to the Eiffel Tower now. I'd love to go to Paris now, but I think as a 12, 13-year-old, I wasn't really taking it in as much as I could have done. The fourth episode, so the midway point of the series, we had our last guest of the series on. I guess we had expected to have a few more guests on, but I think everyone's got so busy with Christmas and the end of year, hustle and bustle. So we had Sonny, who's a good mate of ours. And actually, it was the first time I'd seen Sonny for probably a few weeks or months. It was, it was nice seeing him and nice doing that podcast. I think, for me, this is the weakest one of the series, not because Sonny's on it, but because me and Sonny know each other so well, it very quickly descended into like hysterics rather than any sort of serious conversation.
Well, it was the only one where we needed a serious retake, wasn't it?
We did quite a few retakes actually. That's why the end one's only half an hour or about half an hour, because we kept stopping and starting, and it was very difficult to get. And Sonny's he can be at times quite an outrageous guy with some of the stuff he comes out with.
It was trying to keep it PG, wasn't it? Trying to make sure that it wasn't cancelable.
Yeah, but I enjoyed talking to him about media influences, and I'll take any opportunity to put a reference to one of my own films there and talk about my own films on a podcast.
Do you know what I will say though, like you say, because obviously, like I say, we're doing it amongst friends with our guests and stuff.
Yeah.
That was one of the most enjoyable episodes.
It was fun.
Even with the one that obviously we couldn't, for obvious reasons, we couldn't release. It was very funny. It was a very funny half hour. I know, obviously, the end podcast we're not entirely, convinced with. But
it was a fun day, and I think, did we do something afterwards? I can't remember. I don't think we did actually, did we? I think we just chopped Sonny back off afterwards. But it was fun. It was a good day, and I think, I definitely feel like I got a lot out of it. Should we play a clip from that one then?
Absolutely.
Cool.
When it comes to my first experience and first positive experience of, say, film, because film is what I studied in university and it's what I want to do when I'm older, make my own films, etc. There was a film that we got showed in RV called Gattaca.
Finding Nemo. Oh, Gattaca, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thanks for the intrusion. So Gattaca is a 1990s film, and it's about how, irrelevant of the adversities that can come in life and prevent you from getting your dreams, you can defeat them and you can get where you want, but you just need that determination, to get to that point. And I took that valuable lesson away, because in school they teach you, all this information, but they don't really teach you how to necessarily use it, or they don't necessarily motivate you, because we'll all say this, or maybe someone, but if you reflect on school, or when you're in school, you hate school. You just can't wait. You can't wait to grow older. But then when you are older, you're like, oh damn, it was actually a decent experience. But I think I feel like we should be more encouraged to learn and encouraged to then use that information and be more motivated to go further in life. And I guess that's what the film did for me.
So episode 5 was Fears, which was
another one of my favourites, actually.
I really enjoyed that one. I think Fears, Goals and Grief were the 3 that I had planned at the start, so it was nice to do all 3 of them. Fears, again, we recorded outside the Age UK. I think it was the first time we went for our Asda pizza, which we've kind of made a bit of a tradition of, every time we do a podcast.
Everything's become like sequential now, almost, hasn't it? It's like
we go gym,
really got,
and then we go to Asda and get a massive pizza that we share, and then we go to Costa, and then we record the podcast.
Not a bad way to spend the day, is it?
It's a good few hours, isn't it? Yeah.
You get a good few hours out of it as well. Keeps us off our phones, like you say.
And then we normally drive, I remember the Fears one in particular. When we finished recording that, I said, I'll try and drive a different way home, and we nearly ended up on the motorway.
Yeah, because I remember, obviously, we spoke on that podcast, didn't we, about one of the hardest things is the natural response to fear is avoidance. So I was quite, not firm. I just mean, I'd say encouraging. I was like, why don't you try it? Why don't you? And you did.
Yeah, well, not on purpose, but yeah.
Well, you smashed it though. You conquered it,
but it was interesting as well because, actually, a few days after we recorded that, I also did the motorways. So I suppose you could say I smashed it with the motorways. But
Well, when we say smashed it, not the car. Sorry, but I'm not talking about the car there.
It was really interesting, actually, to do the fears podcast, because before we started recording it, I was kind of like, has Harry got any fears? Is there going to be anything worth talking about? I've got quite a few fears, because I'm quite a wimp.
Oh,
but...
no. Whoa. 1 sec. I've got to stop you right there, because first of all, it's not being a wimp to ever reflect on either mental health or phobias. Because the thing is, right, is, you've got to remember this, pal, everybody has fears. Everybody. Yeah. Not everyone will speak about them, and that's not like a bad thing either. I'd always encourage to speak to someone you can trust.
Yeah. Same
way as I would with someone if they were being bullied or something. They always say speak to a parent or speak to a teacher or whoever it may be, friends, family, whoever.
You're right though. Everyone's got fears. Like
everybody has fears. Yeah, everybody. But like you say, is to be able to actually talk openly about your fears. That's why a lot of people, respectively, they're because you're not obligated to go to therapy, but it's always encouraged. But some people don't want to because they don't want to. Even to a therapist, it's like it's too much to talk about, or it becomes too overwhelming.
And I guess there's quite a stigma around being able to actually go in the first place and do it.
Yeah,
it's quite difficult. Should I pick a clip for this one as well? I think. Maybe if I pick a bit about me talking about my fear of driving, that might be quite an interesting clip to play because, we've done all these podcasts in the car. I only got my car, I think, the week we started recording the first episode. So my car's played a big part in this podcast.
Yeah.
So maybe, play a clip for me talking about my fear of driving and go from there.
Absolutely.
I suppose I probably have a lot of other fears as well, but these are the kind of top 5 that I think about a lot, I guess.
Yeah.
Or more, think about more than.
Go on. I'm intrigued.
You don't want to guess?
No, because I.
All right. If I tell you it's amaxophobia. Do you know what that is?
Wow, I've never heard of that in my life.
Do you want me to say what it is?
Yeah.
Fear of driving.
A fear of driving. Very interesting one.
It was. I guess this is one of the reasons I wanted to do the Fear podcast was to talk about this because. When we started the podcast, when we did our, the week we recorded our first podcast, which was, we recorded the first one on the 16th of October. It didn't go out for about another month until after that. But we recorded the first one on the 16th of October. And that week, I think, was the week I got my car. It was certainly very soon after I got my car.
Yeah.
And we obviously recorded the podcast in the car, which we've done ever since. And I passed my driving test back in August 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's that like? Yeah, over 3 years between passing the test and buying a car.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I genuinely had such a big, massive fear of driving. I was under kind of no illusions that I could drive, and I knew that I could. And I guess in areas that I knew I probably felt okay driving around, I guess. But I was and I guess still am to an extent, terrified of roundabouts, terrified of motorways, terrified of...
Yeah.
Ultimately, it comes down to a fear of being terrified that I'm going to die in a car crash.
But I was going to say, I think,
It's the big...
I think that the fear isn't actually driving, it's something going wrong driving, isn't it?
Yeah. But one thing that's happened since starting this podcast, and since having now, over 2 months now of driving, over 2 months since I've had my car, I've got to a point now where around areas that I know, and around areas that I feel comfortable, so going to work, going to the gym, going to the pub quiz that we do.
Yeah.
Even coming here, we've just driven. We're outside Age UK at the moment, but we've just been for a Costa and we've been to Asda today and stuff. Areas that I know, I feel really quite comfortable doing now, which I never thought I would. And I think in time I'll get more comfortable with areas that I don't know. I'll get more comfortable with motorways and roundabouts and stuff, and I'll get more comfortable and confident with them. Episode 6, which is the last regular episode we did, where we talked about relationships, which was kind of everything from pets to friends to family to romantic encounters. It was everything. How did you feel doing this one was? Because I know that we really struggled for a while as to which topic to choose this one. I can't remember why, but we left it so late that we actually didn't decide the topic until the day we were recording. And we were kind of umming and ahhing about different topics. We had a few lined up that we thought maybe we could do. I think maybe at one point we decided maybe we could do exercise and loads of other ones. So how did you feel about doing relationships? Because I felt that it was not something I necessarily wanted to talk about because I felt like I know the whole point of this podcast is opening up, but I feel like it's quite a personal subject, talking about, your personal life, relationships. So, yeah, how did you feel about it?
Really intriguing one for me, this one, because as you've just emphasised there, you kind of proved my point is, you say you didn't particularly feel all that comfortable compared to other titles within, the podcast and that, and that's quite representative of a lot of men, is they don't want to talk about relationships. True. They don't want to talk about their family, they don't want to talk about, seems like, there's a lot of, I'm not suggesting, obviously, it's for both men and women, do you know what I mean? In terms of, it can be, I bet it can be extremely difficult for a lot of women to open up about
and vice versa. There's a lot of men that find it really, really easy. It works both ways.
Yeah, there's always, like you say, you're always going to have a scale where
exception
people,
to the rule. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was good because it was like it made me think more. It made me think more on the podcast about my relationships. Because perhaps I don't always determine my relationships, and it made me realise perhaps I need to recognise people more.
Spend more time with. I think because we recorded it so close to Christmas as well. Like, one of the things it made me realise was that you should really spend a lot of time with people around you, family, friends. Well,
the reoccurring theme, which has been so good, I think, on this podcast, on all the episodes, has been this. It's been time, and it's been about how time is obviously so precious to our mental health, to those around us, to our experiences, and and
how quickly time goes as well. Because you think that we've done 8 of these podcasts.
Well, yeah,
it doesn't feel like 8 weeks, does it? Really?
No, exactly. And you talk about from the very beginning. We talk about relationships. We talked about the first podcast, the very beginning, grief. I said I didn't think I'd spent enough time with my granddad. Obviously, I'm not going to get that time back now. So again, when we talk relationships, it makes you think: am I spending enough time with my family? Because I remember saying actually specifically on the podcast that obviously we don't want to be at home forever with our parents. Like, birds have to leave the nest eventually. So
there's a great quote from a Doctor episode, actually the latest episode that came out, where one of the doctors says to one of his companions, it's sad seeing, I'm paraphrasing, but it's sad seeing someone leave, but the joy is watching them fly. It's like sad to watch a bird leave the nest, but the joy is to watch them fly. And it's so true. Like obviously this year I moved out. I moved back in again, but I moved out. I bought a car. We spoke about it on the goals and achievements one. Like, we've done so much this year. But I don't know where that was going really. But is that we will move out eventually. So I suppose it's not taking it for granted, and it's really treasuring the people we have around us while they're still around us.
And also embracing potential new relationships, being open to new relationships with people.
And also being open to close relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cutting off some people that you think are a negative influence on you.
Yeah, it's both. It's like, if you're closing relationships, that opens new doors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
New windows of opportunity to meet new people. And of course, we're not always talking in just a romantic sense. It could be friends, it can be, could be peers from work that become friends, this. Yeah.
Friends who become colleagues.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Honestly, yeah.
Me and Sean, actually, we were friends, and I said now we work together. I've left
friends
now.
Friends become colleagues, yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's one thing I've done since the last podcast. I left my job. I didn't mention that. But anyway, so should we choose a clip from the relationships one? Have you got any highlights you want me to pick out, or just should I just pick one? Just the general podcast?
I'll be intrigued to look back over this podcast. So yeah,
should I choose one, and I can surprise you?
I'll see it in the future.
Yeah. Right, here we go. How are you feeling now in 2022, or soon to be 2023? How do you feel? Friends, romantic relations, family. How do you feel that everything's kind of going on at the moment?
I think, like you said, there's a lot of area for growth still. I'm very fortunate for the friends I've got and the family I've got around me. But I think I ask myself oftentimes, am I as grateful as I convince myself I am? Really? Do I show it enough? And I think that there's more things I can do. It doesn't mean... One thing I think that, is not feasible is you can't buy friendship. You can't... It's not like, buy my sister a gift and she'll respect me more, or buy a friend a gift and he'll forgive me for a fallout. It doesn't work like that. It's actions speak a lot louder than,
Than words,
the action of buying stuff.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, I think that the great thing is end of the year now. We can start kind of a blank slate in.
Does
in
seem like a lot.
2023.
I don't know if it's just this year or if it's every year feels like this, but it feels like this year a lot of things are coming to their natural end. It feels like next year's gonna kind of kick off a lot of new things.
I'd like to think so, but again, nothing's inevitable. Like we've obviously got to work really hard, and things will come, like you say, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
it's one of them where I think as we get older, naturally our relationships with people do change. They do change, I think. Sometimes.
So how have they changed between the past version of you and the version of you now?
Well, I think when I was younger, I think I had a lot more dependence on friendships than I'd say I would now.
Yeah, I'd agree actually.
Which is fair.
I think almost pre-lockdown, I'd say pre-COVID, I had much more of a reliance on meeting up with friends and stuff, whereas since COVID, I feel like I'm a lot better at being by myself, whether it's going on a walk or going to the gym.
Yeah.
Or,
I think most people seem to enjoy their own company a lot more now.
Yeah.
As we're older.
The last podcast of the series, I mean, I know we're kind of doing this roundup, but this isn't...
Is this the last one? 6th? Oh no, we've just done that one.
We've just done 6, this is 7.
Yeah.
I know technically there's this episode as well that we're recording now, but this doesn't really count as a proper episode. It's kind of an omnibus, it's kind of highlights. It's a chance for us to have a bit of a laid back session recording. It's a lot easier. So the last proper podcast we did, I suppose, was the achievements and goals one, which I told you before that we listened to in the car on the way to Hull, or half of it. So it was nice having my mates listening to it and giving some feedback on the podcast.
Some positive, I hope, not all negative.
Some positive feedback, yeah. They turned it off after like 20 minutes, so it wasn't that positive. But this is actually probably my favourite one. I like the grief one, and I like the fears one as well. But the goals one was definitely, it meant a lot to me because it felt like a real chance for me to work out what had been important in 2022 and what was going to be important in 2023, and has started being important with my goals, reading and working and exercise and all sorts. How did you feel about it?
Really enjoyed it. I can't say I didn't enjoy any of the podcasts.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? That sounded didn't feel right to say. Obviously, I enjoyed all the
podcasts. Yeah.
But the goals one, like you say, felt like one where I could really take a lot of productivity out of it.
It felt like I don't know about you, but it felt for me like it was a really good chance to actually think, what do I want to achieve in the next year?
I think the best thing is obviously my aim is to create an impression for potential viewers, but as well for myself to take away. Does that make sense? And I feel like with every podcast, I've took something away. So for me, for the grief one, it would have been about time and spending it with those that perhaps you don't spend enough time with. Second one was mental health. Generally speaking, it just made me realise that it's okay. It's all right having mental health.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay. Yeah, exactly. What was the third one again?
Third one was education.
To be honest, it just made me realise the value of education and the fact that we should be so grateful that we have it. We have free education.
Yes, and I think would I be right in saying that perhaps we took it for granted at the time? Looking back now, I'd love to come back for one. We went for Christmas Eve. We went and saw a load of people from school, didn't we? So there's kind of a bit of me on that night that was thinking, I'd love to go back and.
Do you know quickly on the education one? Sorry, it's a bit not very linear, but going back. Do you? I can't believe I didn't ask this, but I assume the answer would be yes. Would you go back to school if you could? I was meant to ask Charlie as well, because for me, I miss school a lot.
Well, that's kind of what I was hinting at then. It depends. I think we have a tendency to look back at stuff either really positively or really negatively. I think a lot of the time humans think back at things really negatively. But with school, I look back at it and think that was a really positive time in my life. But at the same time, there was also a lot of negatives in terms of there was a little bit of bullying. Nothing I would say was too bad, but a little bit of, there's people I didn't get on with. There was the actual schoolwork at the time was hard. I know looking back now it'd be easy peasy, but at the time it was hard.
Yeah.
So would I go back to that? Probably not. Probably not realistic. I don't know.
Fair enough. Listen, hey,
it would be interesting to go back for one day with everything I know now.
Yeah.
But whether I actually would, I don't know.
I think maybe that's because you're assuming Because obviously, if I say would you go back, you'd be assuming like you'd be going back as that person, not the person you are today. I feel like if you went back to school as the person you are today, obviously you're never going to have that kind of maturity and adulthood within you.
Yeah, but it'd be a different scenario altogether because everybody's changed. The teachers would have changed. The pupils would have changed. Like everyone's changed their, 6-7 years, however long it is since we left school. A lot's changed with all of us. It's one of the things I said on the last podcast, I think. Was when we met people on Christmas Eve that we went to school with. Like they'd all changed. Like everything had, So yeah.
Number 5 again was
5.
Fifth one.
Well, 4 was influences, media influences.
Ah, yeah. Oh, was that? Yeah. Well, that just made me realise that, like yourself, one of your goals, I think, was spending less time on social media.
Yeah.
Again, that was something I took away, is that social media is not, it shouldn't be...
I've deleted my social media on my phone now.
Well, it shouldn't be predominant in our lives because it is pretty meaningless, other than a marketing tool, as I already said.
I'll show you something really interesting, actually, so keep talking while I get this loaded up on my phone.
Well, number 5 was the... Which one was number 5 again?
Fears.
Fears. What did I learn from fears? I guess I learned...
You learned that you're fearless.
Yeah, no. I won't say necessarily actually... I don't know. I feel like I learned something from every podcast. I'm sure there will have been something around fears.
So I just want to show you something. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I was going to say, since I've deleted social media, I've had less screen time on my phone, but actually, it's not changed massively yet. Maybe it'll be a more gradual thing.
Yeah, but at least, even if your screen time isn't changing, I can guarantee you're spending
it's on better stuff,
You're spending it on media that's better for your mental health, definitely.
Or maybe it's because... No, I bet it's because I've deleted the apps off, so it's not showing them. I bet it was more than that.
Oh, no, it will have been,
yeah. But at the moment, I mean, today's...
I'm sure it's significantly less at this point.
Yeah, today's an hour and a half. Yesterday was 3 hours 47. But that's the highest one of this year, 3 hours 47. Even that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, in comparison to, how it could have been. So anyway, sorry, episode 6 was your relationships, which we talked about. What did you learn from that one?
By the way, I was just going to say fears. I've learnt to embrace them, in a sense, I think. Yeah. Number 6 was...
Relationships.
Again,
You've learnt to have a relationship, Roger?
No, I've not learnt that yet, crikey. Again, similar to the grief one, just about time and spending it with the right people, and also you really made me realise this is potentially cutting. I mean, I'm not in this situation, fortunately, but in the future you never know. Cutting people off that perhaps are bad for your relationships and stuff.
True.
You've got to be selfish like that. It's not a bad thing. We've both discussed it before, haven't we? That because we're quite empathetic and generally speaking, good people. We find it quite difficult, don't we, to cut off with people that we don't even get on with.
I also find it really difficult to cut off people. Like if you have an argument with someone, you'll probably delete them on social media, probably have nothing to do with them, and you'll be done with them.
It's different, isn't it?
But for me, I find it very difficult to remove people on social media. So when me and you have fallen out in the past, to be fair, you're the only person I've ever actually deleted. But when me and Charlie fell out,
do you know, it's funny. Have we ever actually highlighted on the podcast our ups and downs? Because I think it's something important to. Because based on, the relationship that we've obviously emphasised throughout the series that we have, any viewers, if you've got to this point, would probably, they'd probably be like, "What? These two, they seem like so tight together that they'd never have."
It's all fake. No,
but no. Yes, wait, we're going to be beating holes out of each other when we turn this off.
I'm actually going to run him over with my car later. Should we just play a clip from the goals one, so that's rounded up, and then we'll come back and finish this conversation?
Yeah. Sorry, goals.
So goals. Here's a clip from the goals one. Would you like me to round up what we've got for the goals? Because I've written them all down as we've gone along.
Absolutely.
So we can be sure of what you can sign. You verbally sign that you're going to do these things or not do these. No pressure, but it would be nice to do it, I guess. Right. So for the first goal, which was consistency, you said breakfast.
I feel like I'm on a game show. It's like for your first answer,
Did you say?
Our survey says.
It's consistency with breakfast and work.
Yes.
And I said waking up at a good time or having a good sleeping pattern. Skills, I said knitting. You said musical instruments or drawing. They're both pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
I say hand drawing.
Yeah. Fun, I said I want to read at least one book a month and go camping. And you said camping.
And football.
And exploring.
Yeah, definitely.
Exploring. Yeah. For cutting stuff out of our lives, you said alcohol, and I said cutting down on social media. For career, you said you want to do some more acting, maybe football coaching, maybe get a driving license. I guess it's kind of all connected.
Yep.
And I said I want to get at least one filming job and hopefully quit retail altogether, although I may have already done that. It depends where next year takes me. Yeah. And for fitness, you said you want to get to 72 kilograms, get your knee kind of sorted and just general fitness. And I said I want to get to 68 kilograms. I want to see some physical, some proper change in my muscles, and I want to be able to lift 24 kilograms by the end of the year. And then for an additional goal, I just said driving to Sheffield and Aldbourne, and you kind of didn't say an additional goal, but that's kind of okay.
I think I've got enough because I know that
there's a lot there.
I know if I do too much, then I'm I'll be less inclined to carry them out because I'll be too fixated on one or two. So where was I? Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that obviously we've had our friction in the past, but it's all part of the journey. I think it's all part of. We've both learnt together. One thing we're very good at is we're very honest with each other, and and one thing I will say, we can admit to our errors. Do you know? I think
there's also because we've got friends, or we've had friends in the past certainly, where we've had little arguments with them. And they're just raising the voice. They don't want to sit down and have a conversation about what's upset them. Whereas you and me are very good at that. You and me are very good at having, if we have upset each other, we'll have a conversation and go, Harry, I didn't like you saying this, or Pete, I didn't like you saying, or I didn't like what you did with that. And we'll have a conversation.
I think the hardest thing is
admitting you're wrong.
It's a maturity thing, I think, because in the moment, it's natural to be angry. We've both done it. It's natural to say things that you don't mean, to react loudly, to raise your voice, to raise your aggression and everything.
I think that's almost one of my weaker points, though, in terms of characteristics. One of my weaker characteristics is that I think when I get annoyed, I become quite petty. So if somebody annoys me, I'll make their life hell. I will really I'll do the pettiest things to get back at them.
But I think you've learnt from that. I think at a point I'd agree with you, but I think now, and I think that this last year, as you'd agree, you have become a lot more empathetic as a person. You've become a lot more understanding of others, which is a big thing because obviously you've not had it easy yourself. It's a big thing, but like you say, I agree. Obviously, we'd never name names, but I can gather certain people that you're referencing to in terms of
they don't want to sit down and have a conversation.
What it was is there's this persistent stubbornness after the climax and that, where it's kind of like you're not looking to move forward in any way. You're just looking to.
That's the thing. You've got to be willing to accept that you're not always right, and I think it's something that we all struggle with from time to time. I know I certainly do. Is that realizing that actually that I didn't handle that situation the best, or I
always think of it though as if you in a hole that perhaps you haven't even dug necessarily. The fact is, if you're at the bottom of that hole, you've fallen in or whatever, you've got a choice. You can either, keep trying to dig a tunnel a way out.
Yeah.
Or, or I guess...
Try and build a ladder.
Or grab rope or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You have two choices. And I think when it comes to relationships with people and stuff like that and resolving conflict, it takes two to tango, doesn't it? In a sense, you've both got to be willing to first of all listen to each other.
Compromise.
I heard something recently. I think it might have been on TikTok. I know it's saying to spend less time on that, but there is some good. And I think it said something like communication is nothing without comprehension or something. Or it might be the other way around actually. Yeah. But it's so true. It's it's one thing being able to communicate, but to actually understand what someone's saying and that requires you to really listen.
Yeah.
And I don't think perhaps everyone around us, not even necessarily friends, just mutuals, general colleagues, whatever. You'd say probably not everyone shares that same ability that we do.
Yeah, and I think particularly our generation is worse at listening. I think our generation is very quick to judge and to strike out and to have an opinion about something. I think, but I don't know. Should we round this podcast up? There's not really much more else to say, is there really?
This is the end.
This is the end. This is the end of Series 1. I also wanted to say I've got a cold, so well done, Pete, for doing the podcast. And I've had a cold since just before the new year. And
you've had a cold? Oh no! Oh mate, that's shocking.
Tragic.
Honestly,
And you've got your own IMDb. Well, we both got our own IMDb pages now, so you can stalk us.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to leave a cheeky review,
review.
Feel welcome.
Well, Manager Jump to Stars is on there, so if you watch Manager Jump to Stars, you want to leave a review of it, then be kind. Cool. Right. Well, we'll see you at some point in 2023, maybe.
At some point.
If we decide to come back for a series 2, like I say, I've got an idea of what I'd like to do, but whether we'll get too busy.
Should we try and get some feedback? Should we say if we get like how would it work? Like 5?
But we won't.
You never know. It might be the 5 friends we have, but
You got 5 friends? Tell me more.
why don't we say that? Set an objective and say, if we
say the word kiwi, you've got to repeat the word kiwi to us, so we know you've got to this far in the podcast.
Well, our code word is kiwi.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I vouch. Okay. So if you want a series 2, we want 5 comments of kiwi. You can leave them on any podcast. I just want to see 5 kiwi.
Any
comments.
podcast, doesn't even have to be ours. Anybody's podcast.
Yeah, if I see one on YouTube, I'm counting it. If I see one on Joe Rogan, then I'm going to say, oh look, it says kiwi there. Anywhere in a sentence, if I see kiwi 5 times,
So I guess we're not going back for series 2 then, because I don't think we're going to have 5 people listen, never mind comment.
Hey,
but
listen, belief is a strong thing, and maybe in series 2 we'll talk about religion and belief.
Maybe 2023 is our year.
I'm getting more in touch with religion now. My religion, which is good. Right.
Nice. Right, well, we'll see you maybe summer, maybe winter, maybe autumn, maybe spring.
Yeah, if we haven't said, I hope we have, but a very happy new year.
Yes.
And all the best of luck for all your hopes and dreams in 2023.
And thanks for listening. Well done if you got this far. Bye.
Thank you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
So we were just saving the podcast, as we do, saving the WAV file. And Harry said, our audience has been pretty good, actually, this series. And I was like, has it? So I went to check on the Spotify listens. And I thought this was quite interesting, so I just thought I'd read it out. So 97% of our listeners are from the United Kingdom. Big up England. Or Ireland, or Scotland, or Wales. 2% in Japan. So whoever you are in Japan listening, hello. And 1% in Estonia, which I don't know what that is, but if you're enjoying it, hello. 98% of our listeners are from Spotify, 2% from Anchor. Now this doesn't actually.
What about YouTube? We're not.
Well,
this
doesn't put YouTube into account on here, but I guess some people listen on YouTube.
So we've actually got potentially more viewers as well.
Yes. So our listeners is 23% are aged 18 to 22. 59% are 23 to 27.
That's good. That's really good.
4% are 28 to 34.
Brilliant.
2% are 45 to 59. And 12% is 60 plus. So
12. I thought it was 12%.
Yeah.
That's good.
So,
I'm really, really happy with that.
Hi, Adrian, if you're listening.
And
then
12%.
Yeah, gender 90% male, 10% female. So hello, ladies, if you're listening, or lady. And
what was it, your mum?
Probably, yeah. And non-binary 0%. So we need to get more diversity in there, I think. And if we click on the listens, our top episode is mental health with 22 plays on Spotify.
Brilliant.
And our least one was the goals with 5 views, although that only came out last week, so yeah. They all range from 5 to 22 views. And apparently the trailer's only got one
22 viewers on one. I'm buzzing with that, because if you take 2 of our friends were probably those viewers.
Yeah.
So you call it 20 people. 20
Yeah.
people. That's really good. I only wanted like 1 or 2. 20 people.
You can see.
So all 20, if you're watching, thank you.
The last 30 days, the day that someone listened most was 8. We had 8 people listening on the 20th of December.
That's brilliant.
So just before Christmas, 8 people decided to listen. So that's nice, isn't it? Yeah, just thought just a little roundup. Cool. Thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you once again.
If you're in Japan, or if you're a female, or if you're
in Estonia
over 60, then thank you. It's I guess our kind of target age range is kind of 18 to 22 year olds. I guess it's more males because obviously it's called Man Up, Man Down, and I guess generally it's United Kingdom we're aiming towards. But whoever you are and whatever you're doing,
the podcast is open for anyone. It's
yeah.
And like we say, just to round up on kind of how we started the podcast, just to say again that although called Man Up, Man Down, it is really for anyone suffering, or
if you've got something you want us to talk about, if we've not represented your views in Japan, write in and we'll do a podcast about
And he's not even joking either.
mental health in Japan.
Genuinely, it's not even a joke. If there's a request that you have, perhaps for the new series or anything,
if we can do it, then we will.
Engagement is key, and and we really appreciate any feedback.
In fact, now is the best time to let us know, because we've now got a lot of time to plan series 2. So if you want to do something, we can.
Yeah, but we promise. Pete and Harry guarantee. If we are to return, it's only going to be better. We're going to have some. We've got some big guests planned. Got some big ideas. So.
You're really bigging this up now. I don't know what you've got planned.
Well,
but
potentially, one thought I had actually, very potentially, was to actually perhaps maybe video it. Like actually.
Yeah, that would be good.
Like,
we did think about doing that on the first one, but
maybe you can see our faces.
Yeah, I remember we brought the camera with us for the first recording, and then the camera wasn't charged. So we'll be more prepared next time. But it's been good.
For a first series, for a first
Testing the waters.
podcast and that, it's been really, really good actually. I'd say.
Yes, it's been fun. It's been fun to do. Cool.
Right,
Thank
officially signing off this time. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.